Hey guys, so in a previous video I explained what my favourite and recommended pieces of kit were for people to add to their arsenal for training at home. Now number one for me is a resistance band, and if you can get a selection of different strength bands, so for example a nice thick one like this, or a thinner one like this, or different varying strengths, then even better. But I want to explain and elaborate on why resistance bands are, in my opinion, the best thing that you can add to your arsenal. So first of all, let's look at the tools that we have available to us now. We've got a body weight and we've got an abundance of exercises we can do with just that. We've got squats, we've got lunges, we've got all sorts of hinge patterns for our legs, which is fantastic. That's the legs covered. And we've got all sorts of push movements like the press ups, like pike press ups, dips. We have the push covered. But one thing that's going to be very, very hard for you to target, it's not impossible but hard, is all your pull movements. That's the last area that you really want to neglect. And I say that because me sitting here like this is a perfect demonstration of why we cannot neglect those muscles. Everything you're going to be doing, even more so now that you're more sedentary at home, is in front of you. You're going to be sat here like this, you're going to be sat in front of the TV, PlayStation, working from home. Everything you're doing is in front of us in everyday life, but even more so now that we're in self-isolation. And that for me is why bands are so important right now, because everything going on with that shoulder girdle and our upper back muscles are pivotal to make sure that we don't have awful posture when we come out of quarantine, or even after this whole episode is finished. Those rear delt muscles, those traps, those rhomboids are one of the most neglected muscle groups that I see in everyday life, and clients come to me time and time again, and it's the one area that I make sure that everybody focuses on, that and your posterior chain, your glutes and your hamstrings. And that's now something we can finally unlock with a resistance band. So I'll show you a few exercises. I've called this video my 16 favourite exercises using resistance bands, but the first 4 or 5 exercises are going to be to do with that posture and with that shoulder girdle. So let's move on to number one. Number one, we have a band pull apart. Now this is going to target exactly those muscles that I was saying about. As you can see, we're opening up the chest, we're bringing the shoulder blades back, we're bringing those scapulas together, and we're trying to really work those rear delts. This band pull apart cannot be underestimated in its difficulty. It is brutal, and it's brutal because they are muscles, like I've said, that are neglected so often. So you'll find this a real struggle. You can see here all the muscles that it's utilising and engaging there. Number two would be a Y raise. Now as you can see, I've attached it to something like mid-height. If you attach something low and kneel down, that's absolutely fine. But you can see that I'm bringing the arms up here, again with relatively straight arms. I have a slight flex in the elbow, but I'm bringing those arms up and out at the same time. I want to try and really get those lower delts working and really try and bring the shoulder blades back and get them to rotate downwards. Again, as you can see, I'm opening up the chest. First one was bring my shoulder blades back. This one's going to try and really get them to rotate down. Both exercises are trying to really open up that chest and create that posture. Number three is a face pull. This is one of my favourite exercises in the gym and now out of it, because it does everything. Not only are we hitting those upper back muscles, but we're now starting to bring those external rotators into play and really starting to protect those shoulders. So as you can see here, I'm trying to get those thumbs back. Not so much the elbows, the thumbs. That's what I want you to think about when you're doing this exercise. Trying to get your thumbs to come back more so than just your elbows. We want to really externally rotate that shoulder. And speaking of externally rotating the shoulder, let's move on to something that's going to really activate those rotator cuff muscles, and that is the shoulder external rotation. You can see that I've attached the band to something relatively hip height. I'm keeping my elbow quiet, and I'm just going to work that hand in and out, keeping my palm uppermost. Now those exercises in themselves are going to make a massive change to your body, whether you're male, female, young or old, no matter what ability you are. What they're going to do, even though they're such small muscles, the effect they will have on your posture is incredible. You'll stand taller, you'll stand more proud. Any neck pain or shoulder pain or back pain, you might start to see fade. I'm not going to say it will, but it might start to alleviate any discomfort, because all of a sudden you're standing and sitting as you should be. Your shoulder blades are back, and together, your chest is out. It's a much more confident, proper posture. So not only the way that you look, but the way that you perform. So when you go back to the gym and you find yourself bench pressing, overhead pressing, and all those sort of staple movements, you'll be able to do it with much more competent shoulders. You can't fire a cannon out of a canoe, and it's exactly the same thing. If you're trying to bench press or shoulder press and your shoulders aren't quite seated correctly and you're rolled forwards, then you're going to press forwards. You're not going to bench press as much as you can, because not only are you trying to get the weight to come up, you're trying to balance the weight because it's not got a solid foundation. Right, speaking about chest and shoulders, let's look at some other exercises that you can really utilise with the band. So the next one here is the chest push across. I like this one a lot. You see a lot of people doing it in the gym with cables, and they're firing those cables back and forwards. But this one, you can really benefit from the fact that you can come across the body and come across the midline. Next exercise that we have, again working on push movements, we have a chest fly. Now I've simply got this band around my back and I'm just bringing that in. Again, when you're doing these band movements, you really want to think about the squeeze and holding that contraction. You get out of these band movements like you would do in a gym with any other piece of equipment. You get out of them what you put into them. Okay, the next one we have here is a lateral raise. Now, depending on what size band you have, what length band, you might want to do it with your foot over the top of it. If it's too easy, put both feet over the top of it. If it's too easy, stand with your feet a bit wider. Again, you need to use a bit of imagination, a little bit of initiative when it comes to this band work. You can make this as hard or as easy as you need to or want to, depend on how you hold the band, anchor the band, weight it down. So if you found this too hard, for example, you'd simply go from a kneeling position and give yourself a little bit more band to play with. So in the same vein, standing on a band or kneeling on the band again, we're going to do an upright row. But I want you to think of this more of a high pull, okay? We want to try and get the band to come up, yes, but we also want to pull that band apart, because, like I said at the beginning of the video, we really want to get those upper back muscles working. So not only going to pull the band up, you're really going to try and open up the chest, pull those hands apart and pull that band apart in the middle. Okay, we're going to move on to the back muscles now. We're going to start off with a one arm row. So what I've had to do here, and this is what I mean about the initiative that you need to have with the band, is I've had to double it over. It's a thin band, just holding one end of it is going to be too easy. I'm not going to get as much benefit out of it. So I've had to double it over. Now that it's doubled over, it's really tough. And again, I'm holding that squeeze, I'm thinking about the muscles I'm trying to work, I'm really getting the most out of the exercise. And the same thing again, there's another row variation. This time I can work both arms at the same time, standing on the band and doing a bent over row. We're now going to move on to some arm work now. So I'm going to take that band, I'm going to take it up overhead, I'm going to do a single arm extension. Same as before, if you find this too hard, go from a kneeling position. If it's too easy, put both feet over the band. I've got this hooked around my heel, keeping the elbow relatively quiet, just trying to extend that elbow, working the tricep. Always think about my core engagement and think about the muscles I'm trying to work. Now, carrying with the arms, we've got the bicep curl. Standing on the band, working both arms at the same time. I can't emphasize this point enough. You get out of these exercises what you put into them. Think about what you're trying to do, think about the muscles you're trying to work, and get that connection. You could just do this all day long. If you wanted to, you could just bang out 100 reps. If you want to really work the muscles, then focus. Slow it down, feel that squeeze. Okay, now I'm going to move on to a little bit of legs. Now, I've only got one leg exercise here, and I'll explain why afterwards. This is a hip hinge, and this is where it really helps to have different variations of bands. So with this exercise, I'll be honest, I find this quite easy. With a single black band, it's nothing. With a green band or a thicker band, that would suddenly become far more beneficial, and that's a fantastic movement. Both now I'm training at home with a band or even in the gym. Fantastic movement. That's really going to work your glutes. Also, you'll notice that there's not an abundance of leg exercises because, quite simply, there's no point. There is a huge array of exercises you can be doing for your legs at home. If I was to do a squat and then throw this band and just hold it above me like that and squat up and down, It's all bells and whistles, it's all style over substance. You see people like this all the time on YouTube and Instagram. Here's a great squat exercise. Now they're holding the band like that and they're squatting up and down. Is that really going to make that challenging for me? No, I can squat 160, 170 kilos. That black band is going to do fuck all. If you want to make your squats harder, there's plenty of ways to do that without involving any kit or any equipment. You've got your plyometrics, you've got your tempo squats, you've got your isometrics. You don't need to mess around with any bands. Same with lunges. A Bulgarian split squat done properly can be made awful with just body weight. Keep it slow, keep it controlled. You want to make it harder, make it plyometric. If you want to make it even harder, hold the bottom for a count of 5. Increase your time under tension. You don't need to be messing around with any bands. It's all style over substance. Ignore it. Yeah, that's my advice when it comes to legs. Just stick to the basics and then make yourself work harder. You don't need to add anything. Now we've got a couple of core exercises in here. Now, there's so many core exercises you can just do with a mat. If you've got a pull-up bar, even better, because you can do some hanging leg work and really start to strengthen those muscles. But there is so many core exercises that you could be doing with just yourself on a mat. But I've included 2 here because I really like them. Okay, so you've got a woodchop. And this cable woodchop is really going to start to fire up those obliques and really get that rotational work going. It's a fantastic exercise. Again, like I've said with a lot of these exercises, you get out of this one what you put into it. Feel your obliques, keep everything nice and tight, put the belly button in and squeeze and crunch. Don't just left and right, backwards and forwards through the motions without even giving it a second thought. Think about what you're doing and feel those muscles. Second exercise here, now because I've done this as a superset, you might want to do the same, or it can be done as 2 completely independent exercises. But this is called a Pallof Press. A fantastic exercise, both now that you're training at home or even in the gym with a cable machine or another resistance band. But we've got all sorts of things like planks and hollow rocks to work on our anti-flexion, anti-extension. The Pallof Press is one of the few exercises out there where you're really working on anti-rotation. Your core is there predominantly to keep your hips and your lower back safe and stable. So the best way that you can train your core is to put it in an unstable environment. So the Pallof Press is a fantastic exercise for your core. I also said in my previous video that the great thing about a band is I have these and I can train them up with them at home, and that's great. I train my full body now, but with a band, the added benefit of it is it doesn't lose its value when the gyms reopen and you can go and train in a gym. You can add bands to, like I said before, first of all create new exercises, but also to make existing exercises even harder. So there's a few examples here of the way that I've used a band within the gym. This is before the coronavirus happened, and I was in a gym, and before I made this video, I even had the inkling of making this video. And you can see that they're still getting their full use. Time under tension is what it's all about, and it's about creating that level resistance throughout the entire range of motion. It makes the exercises infinitely harder, and that's it. So that's my 2 cents on bands. First of all, it works your shoulder girdle and it gets you to work your upper back muscles that are often too far neglected. You can definitely use it for some more hypertrophy work and strength building when it comes to shoulders and chest and arms. But like I say, predominantly invest in a band to work the upper back muscles. You're not going to add a huge amount of muscle, but I tell you what, the muscles that you do add will make such a difference to the way you stand, the way you hold yourself, and your performance both in and out of the gym. Okay guys, thanks very much.